Well, good morning, everybody. John Grimsmo here, bringing you another Grimsmo Grind. Today is Wednesday, and I've got this thing on my mind that I've been thinking about for the past few months. It's been brimming at the surface, and it's finally coming through now. And it's all about, understanding your true skill set. And I think back to my past, my childhood, and it's starting to make a lot more sense. I can see why I love doing what I love doing now. And I've got guys asking me all the time, in email or if I go to an event and I meet people there, guys are like, how do I find my true skill set? How do I know what avenue to pursue? What kind of industry can I get into? And all these questions about, finding yourself, basically. And of course, there's a million books out there, and I don't really have any to recommend at the moment, but understanding your true skill set is a tricky thing. I've been searching for it for many, many years, and I've been wrong many times. Wrong in the specific pursuit. In the general pursuit, I'm right. So I think back to my childhood, and I realize now that I've always been detail-oriented. I've always been process-oriented. I love the minutiae, and I love taking stuff apart. And that's not something I think back in my childhood and go, okay, what did you do as a kid? I think, well, I played outside, I was in Boy Scouts, I did this, I did that. And my first answer wouldn't be, I love taking stuff apart to figure it out. It's not till I actually think about it and realize that that is kind of the source of my current passion, is that as a kid, I've always taken things apart. Our family video camera broke, so I took it apart and I found the broken part. But of course, what are you going to do with a little broken plastic gear that you can't get a replacement for? So I never put it back together. But I clearly remember thinking, I could put this back together right now if it were worth doing, if I had the replacement part. When I was 10 and 11 years old, I had this bead loom. It's like a little frame, and you string strings across it, and you can sew beads into a pattern. And it's a very meticulous thing. It would take me a couple hours, so I just plop down in front of the TV, put on a MacGyver or something, and this was mid-90s, and I'd make a beaded bracelet just because it suited that meticulous need inside of me. And for many years, I never thought back at that and went, well, that's my thing. But it totally was. And then growing up, started working with my dad. We did a lot of website design. It's not that I loved being an IT geek. It's that I love the meticulousness of the website, and that's why they would take me so long, is because, I'd zoom in every picture and I'd crop them to the exact perfect pixel, and everything had to be so precise and so perfect. Which, if you can see a pattern starting here with our current venture and our current knives and all that, it's starting to make sense. In my late teens, Eric and I, we got into mountain biking a lot, heavily. Except I realize now that I didn't spend most of my time actually shredding mountains like most mountain bikers do. I'd tootle around town and I'd learn tricks and stuff, but I spent a lot of time taking my bike apart and improving it and cleaning it and fixing it. And I had a friend who was the same way, and he used to actually wax his bike, the frame. And he kept a really clean bike. So, we'd spend our time taking apart our bikes and fixing them and getting new parts and drooling about new parts to get. And then that translated into cars. I met my girlfriend, now my wife, Meg, and she lived an hour away. So all of a sudden, cars became important to me when I was 18 years old. Before that, they weren't. I loved driving, but I didn't need my own car until I met her. And through the process of needing to drive an hour every day in our 1985 Volvo 240 that my mom gave me, I'd break down, I'd have to fix it, and then I got really, really into cars, and I was into car forums for 6-8 years, heavily. That's what I would do all day, is I'd just be on the car forums, learning and digesting and consuming information about how to fix cars, how to maintain them, how to performance them, how to make parts from scratch. And the making parts from scratch is what kind of triggered my making things desire. But I realized I spent so much time working on my car and wanting to work on my car and never actually racing it or driving it hard. You know, I wanted 300 horsepower at the wheels, but from a car that started with like 80 horsepower at the wheels. But it wasn't going out and driving it and doing donuts and burnouts and going to the track. That wasn't my goal. I love building it. Eric was the opposite. He would go out and drive it. You know, I like the boost, but that wasn't my driving force. So I realized that it is the process, it is the technical pursuit of perfection, the detail-oriented, everything matters, the research, the knowledge, the figuring it out myself. That's me. That's who I am. And that's why this current business, where we get to make, it's like an excuse to make the absolute best thing that we absolutely can, no matter how long it takes, no matter how much it costs, no matter how much money we spend. And there are customers that will buy it. It's fantastic. So, that's me. And I don't know how to articulate that to someone else, but except for telling this story. So you think back, what did you do as a kid? But not, I played soccer, but what did you do naturally that you didn't think about? You still do it. You don't think about it. It's just a natural part of your day, or was, as you were a kid, that is so natural, and other people might think it's weird. Sometimes people have hobbies and passions that they're kind of embarrassed about, and that can be kind of a good thing because that makes you unique. Another guy that I really admire, I've heard a couple interviews with him. His name is Peter Diamandis. He, well, look him up. Billionaire, visionary, starts huge businesses. Currently, he has a business. He wants to mine asteroids for precious metals. How cool is that? Really cool guy. Tim Ferriss has some great interviews with him. He likes to say, when people ask him this question, 2 questions that he asks them back. And he says, what did you like to do when you were a kid? For him, it was always space. Space was like his holy grail. He wanted to be an astronaut, took flight school, became a pilot, found out that like 0% of potential astronauts actually go into space. So he's like, well, I'm just going to go by myself, figure it out. So anyway, what did you like to do as you were a kid? And if you had $1 billion right now and you couldn't spend it on yourself, or even if you could, you can't spend $1 billion. If you had $1 billion, what would you do with it? How would you change the world? What would you spend that money on to make a difference? Because his tagline is, some of the world's biggest challenges are the world's biggest business opportunities. And he's the king of thinking big. I mean, he has a book called Bold that I think is absolutely phenomenal. And I should do a different talk about that topic, but thinking bold and thinking big and 10x and all that, he's excellent at that. Anyway, yeah, what did you like to do when you were a kid? If you had $1 billion, what would you do? Leave a comment, let me know. Because I'm curious what you guys would do. I don't know what I would do with $1 billion. I don't know. I've thought about it, but I don't have an answer to it. So, let me know. This is an interesting one. I could talk a lot more about this, but I'm going to cut it off now at 9 minutes. I am at the metal store right now, going to pick up some fixture material, and then I'm going to the bolt and nut supply, just around the corner, to get some bolts and nuts. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.